Hello everyone. Thank you all for coming to our event tonight. It's a musical journey from the US to Iran. It is more than 100 years that we Iranians are in a limbo between tradition and modernity. Since we cannot easily reconcile the old and the new, we are pushed to extremes. Some of us are strongly attached to our traditions and heritage and reject anything new because it is not referenced before. And at the same time, some of us follow anything new and reject the tradition because it doesn't work anymore. But we can ask ourselves, what is old and what is new? Is it a matter of age or functionality? Can something belonging to the past be functional and thus modern in a sense? One of these cultural battlegrounds between the old and the new is in Iranian classical music. Is it sad? Is it not orchestral? Can you dance with it? Does it lack technique? But do we lack technique or understanding? You cannot enter an artistic tradition without the right mindset. Do we have the right keys to open the doors to our understanding of Iranian music? Unfortunately, there are not good written resources for it. Is the Iranian classical music really sad? Western music has two scales, major and minor, happy and sad respectively. Iranian music have 7 scales or modes. Are they just showing sadness, or do they correspond to a variety of moods and complexity of feelings? Is Iranian music mystic? Where is the place of Kurdish music, or Bandari music, or that of Baba Karam? Dan has the experience to open all the doors to Western music. Not all the doors, but to Western music and Iranian music.
Pretty heavy load there.
Okay.
No pressure.
No pressure. And he will talk a little bit about these questions and maybe add more questions to it. What he's going to do tonight will entertain us, but playing music and entertainment are not the only things that he wants to engage in. This is a musical journey. He will start the journey with Western music by playing guitar. Listen to him carefully when he's playing guitar. Explore the world that he creates with Western music for us. Then he continues the journey and goes to a completely different world. Try to explore it as well and compare it to the Western piece that you heard earlier. It is contrasting and comparing these different systems that we can find a key to understand them and enjoy them. We will have a Q&A after the performance, and just let you know that Dan hosted Century Song at KFAI Radio for more than 30 years, and he has brought music from all corners of the world to Minnesotan listeners. He plays various Iranian instruments such as sitar, tambour, saz, and dutar. And his favorite instrument, I think, is dutar. Right? It's my pleasure to invite Dan to the stage. So,
Thanks, Mahdi, and everybody here at the Iranian Cultural House. I'll tell a little story before I play guitar. I thought it was kind of strange when Mahdi asked me to play guitar, but I know where it came from. My wife and I recently went to Europe and visited a good friend of mine, my best friend from Iran, who had moved his family to Copenhagen. And him and I have, I've spent many hours with him in his house and home in Tehran. And here we were sitting around playing music together. He plays santur, I play setar. And his daughter was there, his 14-year-old daughter. And we, were playing, and then I asked her, well, are you learning Iranian music? She says, no. Says, oh. And she says, I'm learning guitar. So I said, okay, well, someday bring your guitar out. I'd just like to take a look. Well, she came home from her lesson one day, and she pulled it out. And I started playing around, and suddenly they just started looking at me like, I don't believe this. And for you Americans in the audience, guitar is no big deal. So I'm taking it that for you Iranians, this is how I thought Iranian music was, very exotic. So when Mahdi asked me to play, I thought, okay. So I'm going to play 3 different pieces on guitar. I'm going to start with a song that I wrote maybe 30, 35 years ago. And I started playing guitar when I was 14 years old. And now as I've been practicing for this concert, I started realizing I am now approaching, I've played setar as long as I've played guitar. When I was 38 years old, I met an Iranian man, and it's a whole different road. But I'm going to play a song I wrote for my wife. And part of the reason I chose this song is in the first verse, there's this line, for far too long I've wandered round with my feet in the air and my head in the ground. And in Iranian poetry, that image comes up as well. It comes up in Hafez and a few other places. I thought, oh, this is really interesting that 40 years ago I started thinking like this. For far too long I've rambled round, my feet in the air, my head in the ground. I get stuck in my own mud, I'm chained and bound. More often than not, I'm in the lost and found. Crazy mama, I want you to know, you make the bad seem so damn good. Ooh, I love you. At times before, it was passion and pain. I lost my heart, I had a scrambled brain. I was clinging so hard, every note was strained. When the loving was over, I was lost in the rain. Crazy mama, I want you to know, when I let you go, we both just grow. Oh, I love you. We've dived to the depths of each other's soul, paying the dues, yes, paying the in the early hours of the morn. We both been just born. Oh, I love you. They say that love has no beginning, has no end. It never breaks, it only just begins. Now for me to say what I got or what I know, loaded mama, I'd only be the fool. Crazy mama, I want you to know I don't know where I've been, and I don't know where I'm going. Ooh, I love you. Thanks. Oh, by the way, the sheets that you have, those are poems of Omar Khayyam. And I will be ending up with singing the poetry of Omar Khayyam. So that's what those are for. I'm actually going to go to the title of the program is From Berry to Wine. And Iranians, you all know what that means. But there is also another meaning. In the 60s, every young guitarist played Chuck Berry. And how many of you know who Chuck Berry is? Any Iranians know Chuck Berry? Okay, Chuck Berry. Probably his most famous song, Johnny Be Good. Second most famous song, Roll Over Beethoven. He wrote rock and roll. The Rolling Stones played it. Everybody played it. And this is what we all wanted to do. And so that's what got me into music. And so we'll do a little Chuck Berry. And actually the story of the song, Roll Over Beethoven, it sort of fits in with some of the things Mahdi talked about, the idea of tradition. Well, Chuck Berry, who played rock and roll, his sister actually played piano. And she was always playing classical music, and it drove Chuck crazy. So, you know, one of the lines in the chorus is, roll over Beethoven, tell Tchaikovsky the news. Jumping little record, I want my jockey to play. Roll over Beethoven, gotta hear it again today. You know my temperature rising and the jukebox blowing the fuse. Yeah, my heart beating rhythm and my soul keeps singing the blues. Roll over Beethoven, tell Tchaikovsky the news. You know my temperature rising, the jukebox blowing the fuse. Yeah, my heart beating rhythm and my my soul, keep a singing the blues. Roll over Beethoven, tell Tchaikovsky the news. Well, she wiggled like a glowworm and she danced like a spinning top. She got a crazy partner, man, you ought to see them reel and rock. Long as she got a dime, man, the music don't never stop. Well, early in the morning, I'm a-giving you my warning, don't you step on my blue suede shoes. Hey, biddle diddle, I'm a-playing my fiddle, ain't got nothing to lose. Roll over Beethoven, tell Tchaikovsky the news. Well, she wiggled like a glowworm and she danced like a spinning top. She got a crazy partner, man, you ought to see them reeling. Roll over Beethoven, tell Tchaikovsky the news. Roll over Beethoven, roll over Beethoven. Roll over Shajarian, roll over Alizada. Roll over Hormozy, tell Shawnazi the blues. Gonna write a little letter, gonna mail it to my local DJ. It's a jumping little record, I want my Chuck to play. Roll over Beethoven, I gotta hear it again today. Thanks. I haven't done that for ages. Okay. So after many years of wandering around with music, many people ask me how I got into Iranian music, and there are two ways I could approach it, but one is you could blame it on the Rolling Stones. It was Brian Jones who played dulcimer and sitar and a bunch of things. And after trying numerous things, I even tried the sitar and some Turkish music. I met an Iranian, and I started studying Iranian music. And he taught me the very classical form of Iranian music. I'll use the word the radif. Most people learn the radif. And for some people, it's a bad word. Mahdi was bringing up the idea of tradition versus new. And the radif, to give you an idea of what it is, it's about 300 melodies divided into 7 main modes and 5 sub-branches. So really, there's 12 modes. And think of it as 12 ways of feeling, 12 different feelings. And after 22 years of working on the radif and talking to many Iranians, some people just say, "Oh, that's old stuff. I don't want it." It's like, it's no fun. You can't dance to it. It's not happy. Well, do you dance to Beethoven? Do you dance to Schubert or Bach? No. It's classical music. It's different. When my wife and I, we just came back from the Czech Republic, and what was so interesting is a few people I met who love music. They just saw, Dvorak and Janáček and these classical Czech composers as they were just Czech. Didn't matter whether it was folk or avant-garde. They liked it all. And some of it they didn't like, but it was Czech. There wasn't this argument about, oh, well, we need something new. And part of the reason probably why I started playing tambour is sometimes this is serious stuff. But at the same time, what I didn't get from American music was that deeper meaning. That's what attracted me to Iranian music, was the deeper meaning. And if you want, you can go on the mystic path. If you don't want, it can just be music too. But it asked something of me that Western music didn't ask of me. It asked me to go within myself and look at what kind of human being I am. And it opened up a whole new world for me. I mean, I still have questions that I want answered. I think sometimes the Iranian traditionalists, we call them the Radif police, they think there's only one way, and that's it. Now, for Iranians, it might sound familiar. There's only one way, and it's like right now you've got a theocracy. My question for you is there something fundamental in you, in the Iranian spirit, that creates, oh no, this is the only way to do it? You know, I mean, I like Baba Karam. You know, I really do. And especially the old stuff where they use traditional instruments. I like the Iranian music when there's an Iranianness in it, when it's not trying to sound Western. I had one friend, we were partying at his house, and he studied setar. And he told me, well, Dad, you know, I really like Motreb music. For those of you who don't know what Motreb music is, Motreb is just music for pleasure. You know, it's played in the cafes and the coffee houses, and it's for fun. So I'm going to play a piece on setar. And what's happened to me recently is after 20 some odd years of learning the Radif and playing that, you ask the question, is this all there is? And like Western music, you know, it helps to know something about it. It's not easy sometimes, but it helps to know. But my point right now is, and I've talked with a few friends here, is the old way used to be the masters created their own Radif, their own version. The present-day masters haven't. Alizada, he hasn't done it. Kiani, Talai, all these present-day masters all do the same Radif that they learn. I don't see them creating anything new. And so what I'm going to do is I will improvise on the setar. You know, some of the pieces I wrote, some of them I explore as we're going along. And for me, the setar, one of my favorite stories is the man who made the setar. In an interview, he says, it's really too loud for two people, but too quiet for three. So it's a really personal instrument. And so I'm going to play Afshari, which is one of the sub-branches of Dast Ashur. Dast Ashur is the mother mode that everybody usually learns in the beginning. And it usually correlates to the beginning of the night, like the Indian ragas. It used to go with certain times of day. And so I'm just going to play for a little while on Afshari. Thanks. Yes, Iranians, I like the seriousness and the beauty. And one of the things I should say is, you know, my radio show, I've interviewed and talked with so many different kinds of musicians. And one thing I really should emphasize is the Iranian music system is unique in the world. It really is. There's nothing like it. And for you Iranians, if you've ever been in those mosques in Esfahan, it's like there's only one thing like that in the world. And to me, the music is very similar to the mosques in Esfahan. And actually, when I was there, it was the first time in my life where I actually saw music. The same feeling I get when I hear music. This was the first time I saw it. And so this radif, yes, it's difficult. It's not an easy thing, but it's a really unique thing in the world. And there's no place like it. I tried Indian music. I'm sorry. You know, give me the Iranians any day. Because I think there's something that speaks so deeply within it. But then, you know, after my first trip back from Iran, I came back with a tambour. The tambour is the mystic instruments of the Kurds. And in Kurdish Iran, it's a mystic instrument. In Turkey and Iraq, they have a different form of the instrument, bigger body, bigger neck. And it's used in all kinds of music. But the Kurds in Turkey and Iraq, it's serious stuff. But yet, I had a friend, an Iranian friend, and he saw my tambour. He says, I got to get one. So he got one too. And what happened was this very well-known tambour player, Khalil Ali Nejad, who I interviewed, that's how I got the tambour, sent back a video, and we proceeded to watch this video very detailed. And he had played setar as well. And so he said, we can figure this out, Dan. Let's figure this out. And so we started teaching ourselves. And this Iranian master loved the idea that the tambour was being played in America. In some ways, it's just as serious, but this is one of the things I do for fun, you know, is because I felt I always had a soft spot for Kurds. You know, even before I ran into the Iranian Kurds, I had many Kurdish friends. And one time I remember an Iraqi Kurd handed me his saz or tambour. We were at a party, and he says, can you play? And I said, well, I play, but I don't play Kurdish music. And I started to play, and he looked at me and says, oh, you've been hanging with the Iranians. Because, of course, it was influenced by my setar playing. So what I'm going to do here, okay. Excuse me a second. I'm going to sing a song. And actually, both these pieces I'm going to play, I learned, you know, from this videotape of Ali Nejad. It's one of the first things my friend and I learned. And the song is, we think it's poetry of Rumi or Molana. And it's a song about the tambour and how the tambour, you know, it's written in the book of life and the wheel of life, that this sound that you're going to hear is just a little bit of the sound of the tambour we heard in heaven before we came here. And then after that, I'm going to play there are 12 to 20 ancient Kurdish mugams. They're the old ones, and this one's called Jalo Shahi. They're instrumental magams, and okay.
آندکی مناد بدان آوازها آندکی مناد بدان آوازها نالای تنبور بازی سازها آندکی مناد بدان آوازها آندکی مناد بدان آوازها آندکی مناد بدان آوازها
Thanks. And I know we have a few Kurds out there too, so. Now, Madi mentioned, we talked a little bit about the idea of tradition. What I'm going to do has nothing to do with tradition. What you're going to hear is totally my creation. I wanted a dutar. I asked this friend of mine, the same friend who is now living in Copenhagen, can you get me one? And he said, sure, what kind? And to give you just a clue, okay, do you want a Turkoman? Do you want a Guchan? Do you want Torbada Jam? There's also one in Mozandaran, and there are a couple others. And I said, well, what do you think? And he said, Torbada Jam. I said, okay, and I was familiar with the Torbada Jam and the Guchan and the Turkoman. And so how you get an instrument, for those of you who don't know, you tell your friend in Iran, they pick it up, they hang on to it until a friend from here goes over to Iran and picks it up and brings it back. This is the parcel post of Iran. That's the only way to get an instrument. So this friend of mine came to my house with the dutar, this instrument. I tuned it up and I started playing. My friend picked up a drum I had, a tombak, and he started playing. A half an hour later, we came to, we stopped and we had sort of looked at each other like, what just happened? And it's been that way with this instrument for me. And I've learned some of the magams, some of the mode, but I started playing around, and if you're going to be in this music, you have to read poetry too. And everybody loves Rumi, Molana, Hafez. Well, Khayyam was the guy who got me. Khayyam, very down to earth, no messing around. And so I started seeing that in the tradition of this area, they weren't singing Khayyam. Classical Iranian singers sometimes sang Khayyam. And then I did find in the south of Iran, in Bushehr, a type of music called Khayyami, which they use Khayyam and Hafez, and they sing all night. And it's sort of a folk form or a regional form. And that's another one of the beautiful things about Iran is there are all of these ethnic regions that have their own unique music. Torbada Jam being one of them. So what I'm going to do now is many friends have helped me with this. I start off with Khayyam in English, and I go, there's something here. And then we start talking about it in Farsi. And what's happened is there's a beauty in the Farsi that doesn't compare to English. I'm going to explain a couple terms that are in the English. The first poem, I saw Rendi riding the horse of the earth. What's he say? No religion, no Islam, no world, nothing. He says no truth, no divine law, nothing. Who in both worlds has the courage of this man? Now the first line, Rendi, and if anybody, if I don't get it all right, maybe one of you guys can help me, but a Rendi is sort of like a mystic. He's a fool. He is a street person. He's totally natural. There are no filters. He's there. And riding the horse of the earth means he's riding nature raw. Nothing. And so that's one of the words that need to be explained. And then also I sing a poem, Guyan Beheshto Hure Ein Hohat Bud. And we were talking about the translation. They say, you know, and actually the first two lines are from the Quran. They say, in heaven. Could be angels, but they're not really angels. They're women. But beautiful women, there will be. Wine, milk, and flowing honey. There will be. So, if you see me with my lover at my side, I'm only doing that, drunk and with my lover at my side. I'm only doing that which they say will be. What's that? This is Khayyam, yes. No, I can't read. No, you try. No, the light's down out there. Okay. And so, you know, back to the idea of tradition, and this was one way in which I found a way to express myself. You know, I'm working with the setar and expressing my way. That's a long road. But there's something that happens with, you know, this instrument. And rather than try and fight it, I just let it out. And so we're just going to go on a little journey. Rendi دیدم نشستی هنگ زمین رندی دیدم نشستی هنگ زمین نکف وانا اسلام وانا دنیا وانا دین نه حقیقت نه شریعت نه یقین اندر دو جهان که را بود زهرا یا این اندر دو جهان که را بود زهرا یا این
گمیم نشینه دلته تو در آبگینه با نلایی چه زن پیش که آبگینه آیه بسه زن پیش که آبگینه آیه بسه نایی گو ببین دین لامه تو فتنه و شو ببین شاهان و سران و ساوران زیر گلن روحای چمادا دهان مو ببین روحای چمادا دهان مو ببین یک ذره یک قطره بود دایشی یک ذره خواب با زمین یک تا شد آمد شدن تو اندر این عالم چیست آمد مگسی پدید و نا پیدا شد آمد مگسی پدید و نا پیدا شد هنگام سپیدگان حروس سحاری دانی که چرا همی کند نوحیگاری یعنی که نمودند در آینه صبح از عمر شبی گذشت و تو بیخبری از عمر شبی گذشت و تو بیخبری بنگاه به جهان چه طرف بار بستم هیچ پس عمر چیست در دستم هیچ شمع تار بم ولی چو بنشستم هیچ من جام ولی چو بشکستم هیچ من جام ولی چو بشکستم هیچ من زهیر نیستی روح هستی دانم من به تانه ها دارد و پستی دانم با این همه است نشه ها شامان دارم تبایی وارا نیماستی دانم نیست که عمر جوادانی این است پر حاصلت است دور جوانی این است هنگام گل و مول است او یاران سالم زندگانی این
Thanks. And now, we're going to go back to English. People ask me, okay, so you're doing Khayyam. Have you thought about doing it in English? And of course, I thought, it would be appropriate to go back to guitar, but I'm sorry, I'm not going back there. And there's a simple reason, and I need to throw this out because it came about in a conversation while I was practicing guitar for this. And a lot of people look to the West and they look at our instruments and our music and think it's technologically advanced. And I started realizing that after 3 days of playing guitar, my fingers hurt like hell. And, they just hurt and hurt and hurt. And, I can play these instruments for hours upon hours upon hours because there's no tension on the neck. So I'm going, who's more sophisticated here? They're tuning pegs. You don't need to have them machined, as you can see. They're wooden pegs. It's very sophisticated. They're good. So I thought about going guitar, but no. So we're going to try a little Khayyam in English. What I do with them.
who sits and sulks, cries and whines, pisses and moans, and grieves about the sorrows, the blues, the difficulties of his hard times. Drink wine, my friend, drink it long, drink it deep, fill the crystal glass goblet, and listen to the fine, fine music of the harp. Crystal glass and hard rock clash. If you're not blind, if you got the guts, take a long, hard look at the grave. And look hard and observe the world full of passion, pain, kings, yes, and the kings, the masters and their fine mistresses, the lords and the ladies are deep down under the earth. And in the mouth, in the bitty mouth of the ant, yes, that little ant. And you think you're big. In their mouth, you see the most gorgeous, beautiful, handsome, oh, so glorious faces. In that sweet little mouth of the ant, you see the most beautiful, handsome faces. So, yeah, that's what I have. And that's what... Thanks. That's what I do in my spare time. So if anybody's got any questions or thoughts, any questions about the music or whatever. Yeah?
Do you use a scale? Do you use several scales?
Okay, now that is an interesting point. In Iranian music, we would never say a scale.
Mode?
Okay, you have modes, yes. Because I can use sometimes the same notes, and I can play a whole different mode because the feeling is different. But there's certain things, musical characteristics that have to be there in order for it to be a certain mode or a certain daska. So you can't talk about scales because there's certain things that got to be there. For instance, I can play the same notes, one ascends and the other descends, and they're two different modes. And there's musical characteristics. Yeah.
My friend, as a performer, it's sometimes hard to find inspiration. May I ask you, what is your inspiration?
Well,
Is it freedom? You get freedom from this. Right?
well, okay. There are different aspects of the music that, yes, it takes me somewhere.
This is precisely it.
Right. And, but, when I work with this poetry, for instance, that's a whole different thing. And then with the music, it's like, okay, I just close my eyes and I go. On the best days, I actually go to somewhere else on the best days with all of these instruments, and sometimes you create in that moment more than others. And the ideal moment is, and believe it or not, you guys affect how I play. You're a part of this, because if I don't feel comfortable or I'm getting some sort of feeling, because some of the things I played, I play it different every time. So, and there's all kinds of ways to get inspired, But, music has always been one way of transporting. Yeah. Any other questions?
How did we do as audience?
I mean, you guys are great. And actually, I have a question for you guys. Okay, how is it for you when I sing Khayyam? Because I'm taking your poetry and I'm singing it back in your language. So that's my question for you guys. Because I happen to have fallen in love with this guy's poetry. And so I've got to do something with it. But you guys are the ultimate judges,
I can only speak of my own experience, but I like a certain tone or maybe the accent that you bring to Khayyam and Iranian music. The first year that I had left Iran, I remember I really missed tambour and Iranian Mahami music. And I used to listen to it almost all the time. But it was strange, I could only listen to it in my room. If I were driving or if I were outside, it didn't match the landscape, it didn't match my experience in Canada. So after a while, I think I started mix and match. When I was outside, I started liking rock, hard rock, and later on, I developed a taste for Western music. So now I think listening to you playing Iranian music is very good because it sort of speaks to my misplaced, more mixed experience as an Iranian who has lived outside of Iran for 10 years. So I think personally for me it is very relevant. I don't know how it is for others.
Yeah.
First, you did great. I love the way you played, and especially translating it to English was great. I think it was a very fresh piece you brought. But now I have a question for you, and that is, I'm wondering how good is your Farsi? Because for Farsi-speaking people, even among us, these poems are very deep, and not everybody has the same understanding and the same kind of, they don't get the same meaning from the same poem. And there are debates about this meaning versus that meaning. And there is a lot of symbolism in Farsi or Persian poem, Hafiz, Khayyam. So I'm wondering how deep are you into that, and how would you understand the real meaning?
Okay, that's a good question because, my conversational Farsi is just okay. But with the help of a few friends, a few good friends is, You know, sometimes I first come at the poem in English, and I go, there's something here. And then as I work with the Farsi and the discussion about some of these words, and I'll tell you, to be honest, it takes years. Because it's the same journey I take in the music, I have to take in the poetry. Sometimes, you know, you read a poem, it doesn't do anything for you. And then, you know, a year later you read it and you kind of go, geez, my God, what is this guy saying? You know, and then you think about it, and then as you learn the symbolism, which is part of it because it's unique to Iran, it really is. And so it's still part of the journey. So I'm, you know, I imagine I will be still wondering about some of these things the day they throw me in the box, you know, the day they scatter my ashes near that home, you know. I want to be that close, you know. Because, and this is the thing, one of the things we didn't translate in there either is, you know, I think we translated how a wine vat. Okay, one of the last poems I sang is, you know, take my dust and make a cover for the wine vat. Well, they're this tall. They're huge. And if you think about the symbolism with that, and it's just like, okay, man, that's where I want to be. Oops. So, you know, it's an ongoing thing. It really is. Any other questions?
I have one comment. I just think it's nice the connectivity that you bring to, you know, art is a lovely thing, and sometimes it's an ability to connect individuals, and that's what you've done.
Thank you. That's all I hope for.
You know, and you're a lovely person, and your energy is amazing.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. You know, and here I should say, you know, okay, there are so many people that have helped me to get where I am. You know, my teachers, my friends. I mean, and there's new friends here tonight. You know, it's just ongoing. It doesn't stop. You know, and so every one of these, they teach me. You know, and so I'm lucky. I'm a lucky person. Any other questions, comments?
I just want to thank you because I don't have that kind of technical knowledge about the music, but the way that you just play the English music and also just tambour and sitar, that was outstanding. I just want to thank you for the just passion that you talk about Iran. You just had the effort to read those poems and understand it and just translate it to your music. That was outstanding. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. Yeah, I'm honored. Thank you. Somebody else? I thought I saw another hand up there somewhere. Let's go drinking then.